All right. Well, welcome to another interview anticipating our hospitality marketplace event, an event that we're running in 4 different episodes, running online and LinkedIn, streaming also in YouTube and Facebook. We're really looking to bring together some of the industry leaders and innovators who will share with us the best practices and a lot of the technological advancements. And today we're having an interview where we're looking to really understand what are the latest trends and opportunities available for hotels to maximize revenue, to maximize profit, but also to adopting a much more integrated digital strategy when it comes to revenue and marketing working together. Thank you, Hicham Benyebdri, the co-founder of Userguest, for joining us today. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Yourself?
Very good indeed. Well, thanks so much. I mean, it will be really interesting to learn a bit more about the perspective of user guests and what sort of opportunities do you actually open for hotels and driving a lot more collaboration around that automation. So I think it would be great to go straight in and tell us a bit more about user guest and really what is the vision behind it? How did it all come about?
All right, perfect. So I'll give you a bit the origin story. So I got into the hotel business to Expedia, and when I worked at Expedia, it was the early days of Meta. So my job was mostly doing bidding, so on Meta, CPC, management, optimization for all Expedia properties across a few Meta players. And I think the origin story is there for Userguest. One of the key elements when we're doing the bidding, we always thought about how can we improve conversion rates? How can we convince more people to book at Expedia? And when people land, what kind of elements would influence the intention or propensity to book? So that was a bit kind of the job, what we did back then at Expedia. And one of the elements that I always thought was key for me was availability. So inventory availability management. And we're really looking at it from a very basic, pragmatic way is if you have a lot to sell, a lot of stock, regardless if it's hotel rooms or any product, you have high chances of selling those. When your stock is very limited, you have less chances to sell the product or service. So that's a bit kind of the thinking behind it. And fast forward, I don't know, 10 years. No, it's 8+ years. We launched Userguest a few years ago, so we're close to 4 years now. And we took those elements, how can we convince users once they land on a hotel website? So in this case, we moved on the good side of things, working for hotels instead of working for OTAs, where we try to help hotels convince more users to book directly on their websites. As soon as they land on the website, how can we convince them to not just book, but book the rooms and the dates that are most profitable for the hotel or more needed to be sold from a hotel perspective. So it's combining those two things. How can we convince the user on one side, but also how can we sell the user what we would like them to buy, pretty much.
And I think it's also about how hotels, particularly throughout the pandemic, that trends keep consolidating today, how they figured out that communicating added value in their direct channel is so important because it's really a relationship building exercise, an opportunity to connect much closer to them. So I think we've seen a lot of consolidation in getting a lot more bookings direct. The customers felt a lot more comfortable with the experience, with the flexibility, and sort of taken away that sort of concern about intermediating that booking and having to go through all the admin in case their travel would be disrupted. So I think that was a really good opportunity, I guess, for a lot of the work that you're doing behind the scenes to support hotels in this process. And you have actually developed a new breed of technology, quite disruptive one, RevMarketingAutomation. Tell us a little bit about that and what do you actually resolve for hotels? Why should they really care about this automation? What opportunities it helps them with?
So the grand idea behind it is to bring together revenue management thinking strategies and apply directly on the hotel website, or in other ways, unlocking the website as a segment for revenue managers. When you think about it, any revenue management tactic or strategy can really impact the direct booker on the booking engine side. So they would have to land directly on the booking engine or make their way on the booking engine. What we see most of the time is that users visit hotel website visitors, they land on the hotel website, but 4 out of 5 would leave, would never make it to the booking engine. So this is bounce rate numbers. Figures differ quite a bit from one source to the other, but let's say 75 to 85% would never make it to the booking engine. So any tactic, any kind of push that the revenue manager would like to do only impact a small portion of that of that traffic. So that was one of the main ideas, is to how can we make sure that all those revenue tactics, strategies are actually impactful and can really influence users, the hotel website direct segment, as much as possible. So that was the idea on one side. The other side was these two disciplines, these two very important departments, historically don't talk too much to each other. So they probably have those weekly meetings and strategies somewhat aligned. But unless you have the right technology that can communicate all those things together and take data from, let's say, the PMS, the inventory availability, understanding as well the segment of the direct booking segment, how people book, how people behave on the website. If you combine all those things together, actually you're kind of touching as much on revenue as you are on e-commerce. So that was kind of the idea, and we thought, okay, there's definitely a gap in the market where we can bring these two together and really have the way bigger impact on the direct segment. And in a lot of ways, I think the pandemic accelerated this thinking. There's a lot of I think labor shortages in all sides, all roles within a hotel, and more we see e-commerce managers or market managers, as much as revenue managers, being a bit overwhelmed. They have way more things to deal with. So the only way to go and to move forward, I think, would be through automation, through having the right technologies that can communicate with other the rest of the tech stack that hotels typically use, and automate as much as possible. So you would only do kind of the thinking, and let the tool and technology do the heavy lifting for you.
And I think there's a lot of data there sitting with marketing that obviously they have to crunch all the time, and there's support, there's Google Analytics that helps quite a bit with that journey. But I think it's about how do you turn that data into insights that actually connect with the revenue strategies, because I think we're so focused on the booking engine to reflect and to drive our revenue strategy, and we believe, okay, we've done it. And then we leave the marketing to sort of deal with the hotel website. But as you highlighted, that conversion ratio is so low industry wide of people that navigate the hotel website actually being able to make it to the booking engine. So what you're telling me is that you're effectively enabling hotels to give visibility to their revenue strategy on the hotel website, and really try to convert that user whilst navigating, while getting familiar with the brand, presenting them with something that sort of matches their need, their expectation.
I'll give you one example that can very easily illustrate this. Imagine from a revenue perspective, you're applying a restriction, a 3-night, 4-night restriction. For the hotel website, unless they have that information, and unless they're looking for 3 nights, 4 nights minimum, they would always get a no availability message. If they just navigate from the website, put in 2 nights or 1 night, and then make it to the booking engine, they only would get a no availability message. So that's one of the just very simplistic way of illustrating how we can solve that problem, is by having access to the revenue management strategy and data and restrictions and so on, we can right away, as soon as they land on the website, redirect them towards those 4 nights, 3 nights minimum. And if there's no visibility, you cannot book. So that impacts directly your conversion rates. By redirecting the user towards the right restrictions and kind of overcoming those restrictions, you definitely can impact your conversion rates and showing what you have to sell and something that the users can book. So that's just an easy example to illustrate one of the ways that we can solve some problems, inherent problems that revenue not talking to marketing can cause.
But I think there's what sort of insights would you say you empowering revenue teams with? Because I think having access to all this marketing data, I think it's gold, right, for a revenue manager. Very often they sit with marketing to try and get access to those insights, but I think both teams sort of use their own systems to get their data together and to manage their usual daily workflows. So what sort of visibility would you say a platform like technology like Userguest opens for the revenue teams?
So mostly I would say website specific booking behavior. As we all know, from a hotel perspective, there's a big difference between who books direct, who books elsewhere. So who books OTAs or who books indirect. So through other third parties, offline or indirect, however you want to call it. So there's a big difference. Those markets, there's some offline markets, let's say Italy, Germany, China, they're known to be more offline markets than online markets. Just to give you some Expedia insights. But whoever books your website direct, it's directly linked to what you do, what kind of initiatives you do online. So what's your social presence, what kind of initiatives you're pushing, whether on ads, blogs, SEO, anything that has a direct impact on who actually comes to your website. Understanding those specific markets, the behavior on those markets, how they book, could be, we look at length of stays, could be, we look at booking windows, how many times they visit before they book. Those are very important elements to really understand your direct segment. By having that granular review of how they book, and you can really segment things differently. You can understand, let's say, for instance, you're a hotel in Paris, your, let's say, US visitors book 90 days ahead of time. They stay 5 nights, and they book on second, third visit. Then you can really create very specific online strategy on your own website, targeting only the US visitors and coming up with, obviously, if somebody's staying way more and that average booking value is way higher, you're probably willing to give a bit more. You're willing to give maybe a free upgrade if you're in, let's say, if you're in the luxury segment, maybe you give away very attractive freebie to really convince that user to book, because when they book, that booking's worth 2 times, 3 times any other booking. So that's a bit the thinking. So having that all that information, how people are booking directly on your website, then you can create from a revenue management perspective, you can also create the right strategy very specific to your own website, and to even segment it to a market level, geo level, or a type of profile or persona that books your hotel.
And I think with what you were mentioning earlier, having inventory available to integrate it into this almost a marketing tool, because it is effectively a marketing tool, but having inventory available and having that ability to really craft specific strategies based on specific scenarios of demand, for instance, I think that is where the revenue teams would sort of get the value add of being able to influence those sort of strategies. What sort of impact are you seeing with hotels integrating that marketing and revenue strategy together?
Well, differs from type of hotel, but what we see, depending on what you look at, from an occupancy perspective, that's the key, really. We're a marketing tool, I think. Well, we sit on a website, so by default, I think we have to be a marketing tool or e-commerce tool, but we would like to be more of a occupancy optimizer on the direct segment. It becomes a huge title, and there's not a segment like this. But this is, at the end, this is what we do. It's really about occupancy, about driving occupancy on specific scenarios that would have a huge impact. So I can give you an example that can illustrate exactly what we do and how that could have a huge impact. So imagine looking at, let's say, the Christmas period. Christmas period tends to be the highest ADRs you have throughout the year. So, and very high demand period. Imagine all those bookings would come direct rather than come through the OTAs. Just having those 2 weeks of, let's say, over Christmas period, 20th to the 4th of Jan, if you can switch just those 14 days of bookings as much to direct, that would really move the needle quite a bit for you yearly direct revenue versus OTA revenue, just that specific 2 weeks. So that's a bit the way to look at it. If you can optimize occupancy at one period at a time. That's really what can drive a change in direct versus indirect, and that's a bit the way we try to look at it.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that you are already participating from a marketing standpoint in all of those OTAs and potentially directly or indirectly into meta search, you are bringing that billboard effect to your website. So it's really your opportunity to capture that user that's navigated the hotel website much more effectively. That makes perfect sense. And I guess if we were to look at some results, average results for hotels that have been implementing this sort of technology, what would you say is on average the impact into their direct business revenue and bookings?
Well, averages or above 30% direct bookings being generated through Userguest. So that's the results that we've seen. Obviously, some with a higher conversion rates, we see way better results, but we can impact so much the conversion rate. Well, it depends a lot on which booking engines, but the average that we see, it's above 30% that would come through Userguest directly.
And would you say it's quite complex, quite tricky for hotels to implement this technology, or is it quite straightforward?
Very straightforward. So that's probably the biggest compliment we always get is how easy it is to use. We know our hoteliers are not the most techy people, and the idea was not to create a new tool that it's overcomplicating things. We're very straightforward. We know what we can do well, and we try to make it as easy as possible for our users to make the most out of it. So that's why we incorporated quite a bit of automation, and this is the trend, and the way we're moving forward is really automate as much as possible everything that the tool does. Then it becomes more, I have a great tool that does the thing for me. I just need to parameter it in the best possible way, just customize it to my needs in terms of whether it's from a revenue perspective, what occupancy thresholds I would like to play with, what happens when this happens, when that happens. And maybe a bit more custom offers based on geos, let's say. That's kind of the very basics that the hotel would have to do on the tool. And moving forward, we try to incorporate as much data as possible inside to make the action easy. So I think there's a lack of action-taking tools within the industry, and if you can facilitate that part and automate as much as possible, it would be something that hoteliers would appreciate and adopt a bit more.
That's brilliant. So it sounds quite simple and quite quick to implement as well, as it can be turned around very quickly. What is your model for developing technology, and how fast do you really innovate? Do you release enhancements quite quickly in this technology?
Yeah, I think every week something comes up. We launch could be small feature, medium feature, probably on a weekly basis. Big features obviously they would take more time, but we listen to the market as much as possible, get feedback from our clients, ask specialists, revenue management specialists. We're always on calls and trying to get more feedback from the ground, from the specialists, the experts in the domain, and could be on both sides, whether it's on the marketing side or revenue. And we try to get as many insights as possible, use cases, and push features. Obviously, we're always on calls, myself specifically, always on calls, fighting the development team, what to prioritize, what to go for, and this and that. But yeah, we definitely, I think, every single week something. We push one mini feature, one little thing, one tweak, based on just feedback that we get from the market.
Sounds really agile and very busy roadmap ahead for you. And so obviously we're preparing this event in anticipation of Hospitality Marketplace, and particularly the direct bookings episode, which will be available for everyone to register and watch on the 22nd of November. What would you say, Hicham, from your perspective, why is Hospitality Marketplace an important event for hoteliers to take in view and actually sit there to get themselves familiarized with some of the latest technology?
I think it's a perfect occasion from a hotel perspective to get the essence of tools. Why were the tools built? What was the thinking? What kind of problems that we think, like I can speak for myself, like other founders or other developers from that develop different tools, how they trying to build a tool to help the hotelier, help them fix a few problems, few challenges. And I think it's a perfect way of just having questions. It's not about doing really so much of a demo, going through your classic sales pitch, but it's really getting the essence of the tool, getting the idea behind it, the vision, and being able to kind of show to hoteliers the whole shebang, your whole idea and why you're doing this. So I think it's a great opportunity.
That's brilliant. And also the fact that you have there a panel of judges sitting in front of you and really understanding what do they care about from their perspective, what do they need in their business that potentially, you could bring to them through this technology. And that's brilliant. So thank you ever so much, Hicham. That was a very enjoyable conversation. Thank you for all the insight and input. And we will see you all on the 22nd of November in the direct bookings episode at 5 p.m. Central European time. Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Great pleasure indeed.
All right.
See you soon.